Who's done the most business, because we could take a look at who spent the most money, and it's Chelsea who are top of the pile with £391.7 million spent. Tottenham on 213, City on 211, Arsenal just short of 100, Man United on 171, and Liverpool on 145.
We're short of 200.
The classic six. The classic six would be the big spenders in this transfer window, and of course that doesn't take into account the players that have gone from there, and it's gross spend rather than net spend, and all those things that people get really excited about. But all we're asking is not, who's spent the most money. We want to know who's had the best transfer window, who's come out of it looking much stronger than they were before it opened.
I think West Ham made some good signings.
Yeah.
I think West Ham...
Enough to balance out losing Rice?
I think Alvarez and James Ward-Prowse will probably balance that out.
The boy Kudus they signed is fantastic.
Kudus is very good. I think Mavropanos, former Arsenal player, I think that they're good signings. I think they'll be very happy with that because, West Ham, people knew they had the money, so they had to really box clever. I think they've got a new recruitment guy there as well. I can't remember his name probably, but I think West Ham have done pretty well. I think Forest, with the signings, you want a couple of those players at Forest, Hudson-Odoi, for instance, you hope that someone like Hudson-Odoi can really get himself going. It's only a few seasons ago.
They had a crazy final day, West Ham, Nottingham Forest, with 7 players coming in.
It was just another one coming back.
Doc Origi, Tavares from Arsenal. They've kind of got some players that you think, when you put those guys in there, it looks pretty good. I think Forest, they'll cause problems with the players they've got. But I'm going to probably go with West Ham because they've started well and they've added well. Yeah,
given that Rice went right at the beginning of the transfer window, and then they made their signings quite late on, didn't they? I think it was 4 in the last 3 weeks or so for West Ham. Yeah. But with Nottingham Forest, one of the issues around them last season was that they'd made all those changes. Some of them they had to make, because there were lots of players on loan in the Championship, and then struggled to bring them into the team. This feels like a more considered transfer window in terms of what they needed. Who's impressed you, do you think? Whose business has impressed you, Owen?
Do you know, all those teams on there, I quite liked all their business. Liverpool, I like, Szoboszlai, I think he's an amazing player. McAllister to go in there. Gravenberch, obviously, to come in there. I think United I think even United, Onana and Rasmus Højlund, I think that's, they needed that. So I think that's good. Tottenham, I think, made some really good signings. Villa, I think with Diaby and Pau Torres, I think they made some great signings. So I think a lot of the teams are actually a lot better. The only one on that list that I'd say you're a bit curious about the whole project is Chelsea. They're spending all that money, but they still, they got Nicholas Jackson, who's going to be good. And the goalkeeper, you ended up with Brighton's third goalkeeper and you spent 400 million. It just seems like, I know they're trying to sign 22 and under, but so you want to compete and be ready. And it feels like they lack a little bit of leadership. Captains, outside of Thiago Silva in there, it's quite a young team in Raheem. So I like business, kind of all the teams. Arsenal, City, amazing business.
The one thing that the caveat to Liverpool's transfer business, and that's been probably the most up and down of any, because it started with McAllister, ended with Gravenberch, but then in the middle of it, you've got they miss out on Moses Caicedo to Chelsea. Then they look like they're going for Lavia. He goes to Chelsea as well, and it all felt a little bit. It all felt a little bit down. And then they end it on a high with Gravenberch, but there is still
but the thing
question over the future of Mo Salah.
Well, yes, there is. But just going with Caicedo and Lavia is that, yes, of course, you're probably your first, second, what you want, the players that you want. But you don't get them. But what you end up getting is more than good enough. More than good enough. Probably, when you look at the way that, especially the way Caicedo started at Chelsea, I hope that it kicks in for him. But when you look at what Liverpool's got, I think it's very good. And then, like you mentioned with Mo Salah, that's, for me, I don't even know if that's the guys Saudi, they're flexing to come in at that late, to come in for a player of that calibre, that late. It's almost...
You can't let him go. You're not going to let him go, are you?
You're not going to let him go at that stage of the window, but it's almost disrespectful to him. If you're going to do that, then do it at a time because you're trying to buy him. Now it's just unsettled.
Well, let's see how unsettled they're feeling at Liverpool, according to Jurgen Klopp.
We had meetings this week, and the meetings were not about what we did in the past. It was about what we will do in the future. Mo was with the players' committee, and Mo had his moments where he was talking, and there was nothing about. By the way, it's only until next week or whatever, and then my future. And he's completely here. He's completely here, and if Dom said that, fine. Mo doesn't have to come in my office and tell me, by the way, boss, I go. But for me, it was not a subject for 1 second, to be honest. Besides your question, the left and right of it, nothing.
I know, and I know Jurgen Klopp has said this, and Salah's agent went on Twitter and said, we wouldn't have signed a big contract last summer if we were going to move. This is not this is not an issue for us. He's happy where he is. But the money is ridiculous money, and it's all very public negotiations as well. There's nothing subtle about any of this. It just seems like it's all just going up by 25 million pounds every time you hear about it.
Very difficult for Liverpool.
It depends how you look at it. If you look at it sporting-wise, football-wise, it makes no sense to let him go now, and you can't even replace him. If you look at a business point of view, if you're the owner...
Where are you going to get that kind of offer again?
Exactly. But I think the Saudis will be there next summer, in the summer 2024. He will have 1 year left on his contract, so you might get less money, but he's still Mo Salah. He's still very good, as we saw yesterday. So he will still go for a decent amount of money. But yeah, it's not the 200 million that you can potentially...
I think that what they're very fortunate with is that a powerhouse like the Saudis can come in and they'll wait and still pay extraordinary amounts of money for a player that's, what's he going to be next year, 32?
31 now, yeah.
31, 30, so 33, they've because before the pandemic and everything, with Mane, Firmino, or one of those guys, if there was no pandemic, I'm just saying it, they probably would have gone the way Liverpool finance moves. We saw that happen with Coutinho, how they're able to spend that kind of money or get that kind of money in and then spend it so wisely like they did. And you would have thought that at this stage, where was that going to come from? And now it's come from the Saudis. And then, like you say, they might wait. They will wait, won't they? Because he's so big.
Yeah.
He's so big, he's worth waiting for. But Liverpool will have to make that deal at some stage, no doubt about it.
But the reason it's so interesting to talk about, even though everybody keeps saying nothing to see here officially, the reason why it's so interesting is because it asks all kinds of questions. It's about what motivates Mohamed Salah, whether he wants to go and earn a load of money or whether he wants to stay and potentially win trophies, and what drives him and what motivates him. And there's also the question of a potential World Cup bid. Saudi Arabia with other partner countries that may be putting that forward that he could be part of. And there's his position within the Arabic world and his status within the Arabic world. So it just asks an awful lot of questions that aren't just purely about, have you got the money, do you want the player?
Yeah.
Well, I think, first of all, I think Mo's legacy is set. He'd be one of the greatest Liverpool players ever. If he goes there, which he probably looks like he will, because that money talks. You think about Benzema and Neymar and Ronaldo and all these guys. So he'll probably end up going there. Hopefully not. I hope he stays. But I think his legacy's set. And at 32, think about coming from Egypt, the impact that money could have in his country. The stuff that what he could do for his people. I think is something maybe some of these guys think about too. So you want to see the best guys in the biggest leagues, but at some point that money is just It changes everything, and it's a shame that it does. But I think for Mo probably to be the kind of the leader there, I think will probably have a big say in it. It's hard to leave Liverpool though.
Yeah, but that's the kind of thing that can move Pricey away, because it could get into a place, Kels, where Liverpool can't, like you're saying, it's going up in 25 million increments.
So great, isn't it?
So at some stage, someone's going to have to go, stop. Okay, yes, because it's too much money to turn down for a business. Liverpool's a business.
They could buy 3 players with that.
Absolutely.
And it's top players.
Not anymore.
Not
anymore. That's
2 top players.
Oh, yeah, but they can't buy them.
Yeah, not nice. Close. So
no, I know. I'm saying that.
Exactly. But if that bid had come a month ago, which I don't know, Al Ittihad had the money, or they had the money for years. They were pressing.
This is why I don't like
it. It was just left hanging around.
This is the thing that feels strange about it, that it all seems very last minute when it absolutely didn't need to be. But the other thing I was going to say to you, it does feel very last minute, but I'm still not 100% sure how last minute it is, because according to the Saudi League, the transfer window, the deadline for registration of new players is on the 7th. According to the FIFA website, the Saudi deadline for registering new players is the 20th of September. Yeah. So there is a bit of a discrepancy there. We're working to the 7th, I think, in our heads.
Yeah, but they should work to what the transfer deadline is here.
So good point, right?
You know what I mean?
They should,
Each league is free to do, the Premier League could do the days that they want.
The Premier League can't set the transfer deadlines.
It can't be more than 12 weeks, I think.
Right.
So your window has to last as much as 12 weeks, but not more. But you can set it from 1st of July to 12 weeks later.
Yeah, what I'm saying with is it Al Ittihad?
Yeah.
They surely, if it's Mo Salah, they want Mo Salah. They haven't just woke up a couple of days ago and said, "Look, we want Mo Salah." They could have done that ages ago.
But maybe they thought if we come late, Liverpool won't have too much time to think, and they say, okay, 200 million, we can't say no. We take him.
Yeah, but then they've got to think from a business point of view, George, that
I agree.
if you come that late, how are Liverpool going to spend the money to buy a 30-goal a season striker, which he's been, 20 plus Premier League goals a season for how long he's been here?
Maybe they found a couple hundred just sitting around and then they realised we can spend this.
And that's true Liverpool as well.
In the settee. They found it in the settee.
Liverpool, don't forget how long it took you to get over Mane leaving.
Yes.
In your pressing. If you lose Salah, you just don't know. You've got great forwards now that can replace him. You can have Luis Diaz, Jota, Darwin front three, which is great. But then we saw with Mane, it's not that easy to.
It's not that easy.
So Liverpool's transfer window, broadly good. We're working on the assumption that Salah is going to be staying.
Yes.
When we say that, have you said who's impressed you in the transfer window?
I think Manchester City. I mean, but when you can spend 100 million on a defender because Laporte, who you don't even play anymore, is leaving, it's just you keep upgrading every position where you lose a player. You lose Mahrez, who was very good for you, but who's getting old now, and Jeremy Doku, one of the most promising, exciting youngsters. Very direct, skills, incredible, pace, incredible. You 65 million, here you go. Mateus Nunes, here you go again. It's just Kovacic, a really good price. It's fantastic, I think, what they do.
So Manchester City have got stronger, having won the league title last season, having won it in 4 of the last 5 seasons, and they've got stronger this time around.
Exactly.
Right, so that's not worrying for anybody else at all. Has anybody surprised you think, in the transfer window?
I have to say, just to continue on what Owen said, I was impressed that a lot of clubs actually did some clever business. We're used to the Premier League just spending money and money and money, and they spend more than ever in this window. I think 2.5 billion or something. But actually, a lot of clubs did their homework well and bought well and in a clever way, in a smart way. Maybe sometimes paying just over the odds, over the price. But I think everybody thought carefully about what they needed and who they went for.
I think Crystal Palace's business in keeping Guehi, Eze, and Elise, where Chelsea came hard. You know, after selling Zaha, was brilliant business for Palace. Fantastic business for Palace, I think.
And
Newcastle is an interesting one. You know, they signed a lot of players kind of. Tonali was the headliner, but they signed a lot of good young ones. You know, Livermento's a fantastic player.
Fantastic.
You know, Lewis Hall, you know, he's another
Harvey
good player.
Barnes
Harvey Barnes, you know, they've gone kind of. I think they've gone for that personality rather than the superstar. They've gone for kind of nice, nice guys.
Small
You know what I
step
mean?
up again, and then kind of
I think it's been a good window for a lot of teams.
Been a good window for a lot of teams. So that's over and done. We're now at the first international break, as we keep saying. 4 games in. What's been your moment so far?
Well, I thought Rice was going to pick Declan Rice's goal from yesterday, but
People think I'm
somehow
being
he
biased,
didn't.
so I'll leave it for someone else.
Just because this was the first big... I know we had a Chelsea